computer. All right, James, take it away.
Thank you so much. So, Bruce, it's really nice to see you, and thank you so much for joining me.
Nice to see you too, James. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I really appreciate it as well. So, Bruce, as you know, I'm a physiotherapist, or a physical therapist, as you guys call it in the US. So, I have to ask about the UFC 129 incident where you infamously blew out your ACL announcing Georges St. Pierre. Can you
Yep.
take me through that and what you experienced?
Pain. So, and I have a lot of experience with physical therapy, that's for sure. You know, I had rolled my ankle the week before in a poker tournament. I'm a big poker player. And
Okay.
when I ended the tournament during a break the first day, I rolled my ankle on a break and a dip in the carpet. And when I went home, my ankle had swelled up. Woke up the next morning, had to go to the hospital, have a drain of blood, got a pair of crutches, went back to the tournament, won third place and 30,000 US, which was quite memorable, but I couldn't walk.
Well,
And a week later, next Saturday is the biggest show in the history of the UFC, 55,000 people, sold out in 20 minutes at Rogers Arena in Toronto, Canada. And George St. Pierre fighting Jake Shields. And come that Thursday, I still couldn't walk. I finally could walk on my own. Got to the
yeah.
airport, got to the show, got in the show, adrenaline took over, jumped, turned, did everything I did. But in the final match, the main event, I introduced George St. Pierre. And as I say, George, rush, you know, he lunges out the way he always does when I announce him. And I bunny hop back about a foot and a half, give or take, as I always do when I announce him. And the ankle wobbled. And therefore, as you know, as a physical therapist, my ACL exploded and severed right at that point.
Mm.
I still remember the pop. I get nauseous even thinking about it. Well, maybe not as much today. And as I got
Yeah.
back and put my arm under the referee for him to give us instructions, I realized my knee was going back and forth, and I realized I really did something. John McCarthy said
Okay.
on the way out, he goes, "I think you blew your ACL." Stitched around the cut man, put an ice bag on me. I'm watching two warriors go at it. What is wrong with this picture? I'm the announcer, right? That was
Yeah.
then. There was another time I blew the other leg, an ACL at a lip sync contest the night before 3 UFCs in a row, three
Oh
days in
wow.
jumping on a flimsy stage very lightly, and it just went. A lot of footballers would jump up and celebrate, but when they come
Hmm.
down, they blow their ACL. They don't blow
Yeah.
it during the game; they blow it like I did, right?
Correct.
It's a very funny thing. I guess when it's ready to go, it's ready to go. So I had to go into physical therapy after the first ACL break. I went to the famous surgeon here who did Tom Brady's knee and fixed his ACL, named Dr.
Hmm.
Elatrosh. He said it'll take you usually 2 months or more of rest and whatever till I get you back in the octagon. But I know you. Listen to me. Do what I say. I'll have you back in 4 weeks. I waited 3 months till I had a 4 week period open, wore a brace, did all the shows, went in, got the
Hmm.
operation. And thanks to the physical therapist I went to, because without them, I never would have been able to do what I do. And I just strengthened my legs as much as I could, wore a brace, and was a little buffer light, but eventually got back to where I am today. And I still work today
Uh-huh.
without an ACL on the second leg that I blew because I
Uh-huh.
had some, without going into detail and taking up your time, I didn't have time to have an operation. I decided to
Yeah.
heal without an ACL, and you can live without an ACL. Um,
Correct. Correct. Happening a
and
lot these days.
yeah,
So then, what are you doing to maintain, your not just the first one, but the one that you haven't, fixed the ACL and done the surgery? What are you doing? And, you're still in great shape. So how are you maintaining that?
thank you. Well, I'll be 67 in a couple months. You
Well
know,
done.
big birthday.
You
Thank
don't
you
look
very much.
67.
I appreciate it. All natural, my friend. Still got my six pack, so I'm still trying to do what I do. I'm training normally. I have a great trainer. I don't do anything to hurt the knee. I don't do anything to abuse it.
Hmm.
Um, and knock on wood, everything's going so well. And it's just basically, squats, training, walking, busy, leg day.
Yeah.
Just
Nice.
don't do the lateral movements that could cause it to
Yeah.
give way.
Perfect. Perfect. And will you be doing that lunge back jump anytime soon, or is that
I
retired now?
I know I still jump during its time when I feel like it. I never
Yeah.
know what I'm going to do till I do it. I don't get 3, 4 feet of air like I used to. I used to really let it go.
Yeah.
But I'll give it a little hop, give it the excitement. But I want to be,
No, well, yeah, we still see it. We still feel it.
yeah, I still feel it too, but I only want to feel the excitement. I don't want to feel, yeah.
Nah, I'm with you. You don't want to feel that searing pain anymore. And you would have seen some huge KOs, plenty of different injuries in your time. as an announcer. Which ones stand out to you the most, and what's the worst you've seen in your time in the UFC?
I've seen everything. Being in the Octagon for 28 years, to ask me what the most horrific or the best fight is, or the greatest fighter, very hard for me to answer. I can only give you
Yeah,
examples.
absolutely.
Horrific examples: Anderson Silva's ankle break, Conor McGregor's ankle break, Chris Weidman's ankle break. Getting
Mm,
checked in a fight. Knockouts: Matt Serra knocking out George St. Pierre. And go on and on and on. There's
mm,
there's so many knockout. Derek Lewis running across the octagon, throwing a knee in the first 30 seconds, right? And
yeah,
then saying, my balls are hot as he takes off his shorts. I mean, memorable moments all over the
yeah, of
place.
course.
So the UFC is full of. Every time I think I've seen the greatest fight, a couple months later, I see the greatest fight. This is
Yeah,
what keeps me going. This is what keeps the fans coming. This is what keeps the fighters rolling. It's the most exciting fighting sport in the world, and I'm very proud, very humbled to be there. And the show is not about me; it's about the UFC. It's about the fighters and the fans. I just go there to do the best job I can, and to be recognized
yeah.
the voice of the Octagon, or some people say one of the three faces of the UFC, is an honor after 28 years that I
Mhm.
humbly appreciate and respect, and will always treat with respect as long as my
Yeah.
phone stays up.
No, we're all good. We're all good. And I guess, you like you said, there's so many different things that happen in the UFC, especially, when we started out, with injuries and things like that. And what do you think from what you've seen, keeps these fighters, in such good shape? They go through a lot. And, from your perspective, from what you've seen over the last 28 years, what do you think is their advantage, or what keeps them, so fit and healthy and maintain their body the way they do?
Well, their training, their nutrition, if they have proper coaching, if they have proper everything else. But, I can't begin to tell you that I'd say 90% plus of them are going into a fight hurt in some way, shape, or form. The training
Yeah,
they go
absolutely.
through, whether it's minor or otherwise. But, I know that every go I've had, whether it's with gloves in a kickboxing ring or dojo, or God forbid the street, we all have our history. Uh,
Yeah,
the first punch that you get hit with, or the first punch you land, and you forget about everything. It's
absolutely. And that's
survival at
all
that
out.
point. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, changing tune a little bit, you've built such a huge brand for yourself, and obviously the UFC's been a big part of that. When you started out in the UFC, back in the 90s, what made you follow down the UFC when it wasn't as big, maybe as some other combat sports like boxing and things like that throughout the 90s?
I've been managing my legendary brother, Michael Buffer, for 30 plus years.
Hmm.
And I mean, back then I wanted to be an announcer. We agreed that I would not do announcing. It's a confliction of interest. Uh,
Yeah.
he wasn't making the kind of money he makes today. I mean, I helped him with our mutual work together to become the multimillionaire that he is today, and brand the Let's Get Ready to Rumble brand and all. He was doing over
Hmm.
100 shows a year, making a small six figures, which is no secret to anybody.
Yeah.
There wasn't boxing announcers don't make full-time income, right?
Yeah.
Today
Yeah.
there might be a few. It's a passionate thing you need to get into. So I realize that, and of course nowadays, he's phenomenally doing very well, and I'm very proud of my work with my brother. I mean, he is the greatest.
Absolutely.
Um, I've grown with the brand over 28 years, and I believed in it ever since day one. It was going to be the biggest thing in fighting sports. It just needed
Okay.
to be refined. It was a spectacle back then.
Yeah.
Luckily, through all the heyday, I'm the longest employee or worker in the UFC at 28 years. Nobody's been with the brand longer than me.
Yeah.
Not even Joe Rogan. I think he's going on 27, maybe 26.
That's right. Yeah.
Uh, but with that being said, I never lost hope. I never lost whatever. I stayed in the Roach Coach motels. I worked for the short paycheck. I did what I needed to do because I believed in it. And that's like anything else in life, whether you want to be a physical therapist, a CEO, the finest police officer walking the streets of Australia. The bottom line is,
Mm.
is that be the best you can be. So like I say in my podcast, when you step on that yellow brick road to success, whether you're number one champion, number 10 or whatever, if you're being the best you can be and believe in yourself, then you're winning. So you
Yeah,
need
absolutely.
you need to go for it.
Nice. I love that. And but you seem to have like a successful formula for growing your personal brand. Like you mentioned, obviously for your brother, for yourself. I know you've been involved in growing some brands for athletes and things like that as well. You know, um, can you tell me a little bit about the ideal and the strategy that you've put behind that? Because obviously, yeah, as you mentioned, you've helped your brother do that, and I think you were his manager to start with. So you seem to have a bit of a good formula going there. Well, can you give us some insight into that?
When you think about it, just remember we're in the age of social media. We're in the age of areas where you have a qualified audience based on how you build your social media. We're also in the age of what I call to stay relevant. So find out what your base is, believe in what your base is, and work from your base. In my case,
Mm-hmm.
it's the UFC Octagon for 28 years that I built my brands out of. 7 or 8 years into it, I created the phrase "It's time."
Yeah.
Trademarked it back in the '90s, but didn't really do anything with it. Actually, I didn't
Okay.
trademark it until I have to check, but it was probably 7, 8 years into my career before I really started trademarking, maybe the early 2000s.
Uh-huh.
And pardon me if I forget, I can't remember everything.
No, you're all right. We'll let that one slide.
But the brand really took off, I would say, starting in about the early 2000s. I remember in 2003, our entire audience in Brazil yelled it back with me as I said it.
Yeah.
And a stitcher ran the stitch man. I walked out of the Octagon and said, "Did you hear that, Buff?" I go, "What?" He goes, "Everybody said it with you." I go, "What do you mean said it with me?" They all said it's time. They speak
Yeah.
Portuguese, but they all said it's time. I never even heard people say that about "Let's Get Ready to Rumble," except a murmuring out in the audience, right? Even though they all got
Mhm.
tremendously excited. And I
Yeah.
realized at that point, oh, wow, it's catching. It's catching.
Yeah.
So there's a phrase in life called "Don't shoot till you see the whites of their eyes." And even though I used it to promote products, to represent companies, which people can write me at my website at brucebuffer.com to do corporate videos, product videos, represent, but I don't represent anything unless I believe in it. I turned down a lot of deals. I turned down a cigar
Mhm.
deal recently this month. It was very lucrative because A, I don't smoke cigars, right?
Yeah. Fair
But
enough. Yeah.
my toiletry line is coming into Australia, the It's Time cologne,
Oh,
which
nice.
may even be on Amazon now down there. I'm not sure, but we're in 40 countries.
Yeah.
It's a top seller in the UK, top seller in America. It's going to be in all the
Mhm.
stores. It's going to be followed down there by the It's Time energy drink, which
Well, I
is
like that one. That's cool.
zero sugar, full of vitamins, full of minerals. Uh, green coffee beans providing the caffeine, no crash, right?
Hmm.
So very proud of this. These are going to be huge sellers, right?
Yeah.
And if you follow me on Instagram at Bruce Buffer UFC, you can see all the stuff happening,
Can
right?
we get your Manscaped ads down here as well? That's huge. That gets
Again,
run on the TV all the time.
which one?
The Manscaped
Oh,
ads.
by yeah, I'm not part of that company, but I did those commercials for
Okay.
them, and they're
Yeah,
still running.
yeah.
They're still running those commercials.
They're still running them. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Well,
funny.
definitely last year. I'm not sure about this year, but yes.
Yeah, I think they ran them for a while, but they can't run them now because if they do, then quite frankly, let me know because they owe me a paycheck.
Well, I'll check for you. I'll check for you and I'll let you know. But I guess the key there is that your brand and everything that you're doing needs to stay on brand and keep promoting the things that are core to you and that are part of your overall brand.
Well, one of those key things to doing that and to stay relevant is to be out there. And thank God I'm on the UFC because I'm seeing 500 million to 1 billion TV sets, pay-per-view week, reruns every week on Fight Pass, reruns elsewhere, ESPN, you name it. And that's what keeps you relevant, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Along
So
with
we're gonna have to.
along with the
Sorry, you
commercials
go.
and everything else I do. One of the other big
Yeah.
things that for me works is you have an app down there called Swish, which people
Hmm.
can buy videos from, right? I'm on Swish. You can order videos for birthdays and weddings and stuff like that. And well, weddings, we like to get those through my website, brucebuffer.com, but I'll do championship introductions, introducing like a champion, the birth of babies, all that. I
Yeah.
have special offers at brucebuffer.com for audios and weddings where I introduce you like you're the heavyweight champion of the world, right? A keepsake
People love
forever.
that.
And
Yeah.
people love that. That's a growing business. It's one of the other areas that keeps me and my partner Kristen very, very, very busy uh,
Nice.
managing and running all of these items.
Very good, very good. Now, obviously, being in healthcare, I have to ask. I ask our guests this question all the time, and what healthcare hack or routine do you use, or have you used in the past that's worked really well for you?
Your body's a machine. Eat well. Eat your
Yeah.
meals, right? Uh, Control your body fat. Control everything. Eat what's good for you.
Mhm.
And I try to eat as healthy as I can. Obviously, we can all be healthier, when I'm on the road. You know, I have to get what I can get, but I just basically love power breakfast. You know, breakfast for me in the morning could be some quality granola, my best protein powder of choice, banana, blueberries, honey, uh, yogurt with low sugar, you know, all mixed
Hmm.
together and just stir it up. And it's just absolutely delicious. It's probably 800 calories, you know, a lot of
Hmm.
carbs, but that's okay. I don't mind carving up in the morning, right? If
Yeah.
I miss my lunch or I don't have what I want for lunch, then at least I know I got power to carry me through the day. Keep your carb load light at night, you know, to avoid putting on weight, depending on what you're searching for. You got to figure out
Yeah.
what's good for you, but eat healthy, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Don't
Yeah.
abuse your, don't abuse yourself. Watch the alcohol intake, right? Even though I have a bourbon puncher's chance, which will be down there in Australia too.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
called the
Okay.
top 5 best sipping bourbon in America right now is Puncher's Chance. I'm very proud of it.
Nice.
Does
Gonna
a,
have to get that for
I've
sure.
got, it's awesome. Just go to puncherchancebourbon.com. You'll see all about it. But you know, I've got a 12-year reserve, 14-year reserve. It's one of the other aspects of my business. Notice it doesn't have its time on it, but I'll market it with its time.
Yeah,
Um,
nice. I like that.
yeah, but I mean, I sip it. Okay, I'm not downing loads of. We know the Aussies love to drink.
Look, we're good at that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're quite good at that. You know, it's like in England. You know, a few pints that somebody's going to throw down. You got to be careful, but you know, it's all good.
Very good. And look, lastly, as a huge UFC fan, I need to ask, and I know this is a hard question, but is there one fight that you haven't seen in the UFC that you would love to have seen made from past or present fighters?
Oh, it would have been in the prime, George St. Pierre and Anderson Silva.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you on that. I
John
think that
Jones,
would have been,
yeah, John Jones at heavyweight against Francis Ngannou. You know,
well, that could happen. That could happen.
Ngannou's on his way to making tens and tens of millions of dollars just in his boxing ventures. His huge contract with PFL.
Yeah.
I don't know if he ever get back. I told him on my podcast, the It's Time podcast with Bruce Buffer. Your fans can listen to just
Yep.
on YouTube or anywhere you watch podcasts. But you know, I said don't leave the UFC unless you get something going. You could become irrelevant. You know, within 6 to 10 months. Well, you know what? I'm not eating those words because I know I'm correct, but at the same time, I admire Ngannou. He's a fantastic human being. I'm so happy for
Mhm.
him. He's on his way to making tens and tens, if not $100 million in the next few years. But he's
Mhm.
the kind of man that would retire after his last fight with the 10 million or whatever he made. He's just
Yeah,
that humble and that cool. It's wonderful to see a role model like him do as well as he does. And we'll
yeah.
see.
I'm with you. And I know it's trademark, but do you mind giving our listeners an it's time?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. It's time for James Becerra.
Really appreciate that, Bruce. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're very, very welcome. And again, if anybody wants, you know, videos and audios, just write us through brucebuffer.com. I can't begin to tell you the requests. I've even introduced the devil fighting Jesus Christ for a church. You know,
Well,
it's like I get the requests are phenomenal. People even want me to do their eulogies. It's like, wait a second. Okay. But what I won't do, something that's popular out there, is somebody on Cameo, like the Swish app down there, they had me
yeah.
do like I forget her name, Haley. It's time to move on. I thought she was going to get a new apartment or a new car, and the guy pulled the window over the veil over my eyes. He was breaking up with his girlfriend,
Oh
right?
no.
And it went really, really popular. But I don't do those kind of that one slipped through, but it
Fair
got
enough.
publicized all over the world and actually grew the business. That's not the way I want to grow it. So if you're going to order something, keep it classy. And I'm always happy to make everybody happy. I love doing weddings. I do 5 to 10 weddings a week at
That's awesome.
brucebuffer.com. Yeah.
Very good. And you've got obviously a few products coming down to Australia, so we'll keep an eye out for those. And I'd be keen to
You
try
want
them
to
once
you
they're
want to
they're
smell
here.
like a champion, look it up. It's time cologne. I'm telling you, this is fantastic. And if you're
I'm
single,
looking up
the
straight
girls love
away.
it.
Yeah.
Or
Very good.
married.
I'm keen for the energy drink too. That looks really good.
Yeah, no crash, my friend. No sugar, no crash.